Hi everyone, this is Young Happy Confident, the podcast for all of you who at a young age want to find out who you really are, what kind of life you want to live, and to get the tools to achieve your dreams. Hi, and welcome to Young Happy Confident. Today's guest is Adrian, and I'm really excited to have him here, not only because he's a huge inspiration, he's experienced a lot of things in his life, very, very many good moments. But he's also a podcaster, as in a really good one, a profi one. We'll tell you more about that in a minute. It's all about traveling. But first of all, tell us, is there one special moment that you would say that was the best moment of my life? Or
I guess if I would be very, very fair, I cannot name just one single one, as I experienced a lot of very good moments in my life until here, and it would be unfair to just say this one was the best.
Yeah.
I would maybe say the journey until here was really the best, the best moment I had, with a lot of good things that I experienced until I arrived here today on your sofa. Yeah? So
wow.
yeah.
It's the journey is the special thing about it. You need to enjoy the journey, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm always trying to create moments within the journey,
yes.
because I think it's always difficult if you always work just for one goal in the future.
Yes.
The Olympic thinking of, or
yes.
is it the Olympic thinking? No, it's not participation, it's everything.
Yes.
But the way is also some part of the final goal, and it needs to fit into this achievement. If the road is a pain too much, and the achievement is then for 2 minutes, and I have it, that doesn't make sense.
Definitely. And I get the feeling when I talk to you that your secret to happiness is very much that you kind of seize the moment. You see your opportunities, and then you also realize this is my moment, and you kind of grab that moment. And you've told me about so many different ones. One of them was when you were 16, right?
Yes, you have to imagine I'm from a small village, and in this small village, it's 1 hour to each direction to the highway, and for the Germans it's very important to have a highway. So if you have not a highway, you don't go there, because it's far away from everything. And next to my little village there was a small brewery, and it was in the middle between my school and my home. And in this brewery there were always visitations you were able to do, so you could go there with your club or with your friends. You didn't have to pay anything. You get shown the brewery for 1 hour, and then you can drink for free for 1 or 2 hours, depending on. And when I was 16 and I was a member of a lot of clubs, football club, tennis club, fishing club, I've been there within 6 weeks, I think 4 times. And it was always happening at 2 o'clock, and then you come home at 5, and it was always the time my dad also came home from work. And within these 6 weeks I was 3-4 times coming home, not really sober. And my dad was really angry to say, hey, Adrian, if you go there again, you really get a problem with me. And I went there another time, and as I've been there so often, the guy who did this visitation service, so the brewmaster, who did this next to his normal job, told me for fun, if you come again next week, you can do the service here on your own. You can visit, or you can lead the customers or the visitors around here. And I said, oh, okay, took this as fun, came home, same time as my dad. My dad recognized, Adrian, you were coming home drunk again, it's the 5th time. Now you really have a problem. But I told him, Dad, please relax this time. They offered me a job. And my dad took it serious, and maybe I also sold it as serious. And next morning he called the brewmaster and said, hey, you offered my son a job. I'll send him around 2 days ago, in 2 days in time, and then he can take over your visitation service. And the brewmaster didn't really offer, but sent him over. And 2 weeks later, I was the leader of this visitation service in the brewery. What was for a 16-year-old the perfect job next to school.
That really is a good one, yeah.
Indeed.
And you earned a lot of extra money from those visitors. Yeah,
it was the perfect thing, because you have to imagine, as I described, the brewery is exactly in the middle between school and home, and the brewery visits always took place at 2 o'clock for 1 hour. School ended at 1:05, so I had 55 minutes to take my bike, drive over there, put my jacket on, and look a bit nicer than in school, and then lead people through for 1 hour. And I always got from the brewery 15 euros and a crate of beer for each of these brewery tours that happened twice a week. And at the same time I got tipped from the people that were visiting the brewery, and I always was sharing with the women that was working at the bar in the cellar where the people were able to drink. And so I had 50 euros for each of those, so 100 euros a week net as a 16-year-old, and 2 crates of beer, what was also not too bad to have it with 16, yeah?
That's great. That is so great.
You maybe have to say legal drinking age in Germany is 16, yeah?
Yes,
So
mention that one. You seized the moment straight away. I also think that, I mean, obviously you've had challenges in your life. You told me about a couple, but being born as an eternal optimist, you managed to always overcome them by believing very much in yourself and in your goals. University was
that was a key word.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, so I'm from a very, very rural area in Germany, where there's really a lot of landscape, very beautiful, but no cities, no big companies normally around. And I did my bachelor's very close by, so I was studying 45 kilometers away. So I planned after my bachelor's, and I did a combined studying system a bit. So I was always 10 weeks working, 10 weeks then afterwards studying. And at the end of that 3-year journey to my bachelor's, I got offered a job from the company saying, hey, we would be happy if you stay here, a good job. And I said, no, I want to do my master's. I don't take the job. Before I had a university. And my plan was to go to the other direction of my village. Again, 50 kilometers away only.
I have to say, that is so cute, because you came from such a small place and you were so happy with that, having your friends and your hobbies and everything. You actually wanted to stay there forever. You didn't even feel the need to see anything else.
Yeah, if you don't know what you can discover somewhere else, you maybe are a little bit also, I would say, in your boundaries. Then what does not always need to be bad, because if you're happy there, why not?
Yes, it's great, but it's so funny when you think about how much you've seen of the world today.
And I still love my home place, and I love it to be at my parents' house and so on. But I wanted to go to the other city to study, where I can live close to at home, or even at home, and drive every morning to study. And then, because my bachelor's was done in the combined degree that was very, very new, and the universities did not accept it as the entry stage for a master study. Okay. So I applied for the first 100-kilometer ring around my city, again more, and no university was willing to take me. And then I found one, so I wrote easily 70, 80 applications to universities. And if anybody needs help for applying for a German university, call me. Yeah, I know how this works. At least I know how it works 79 times successless. But one university was taking me. That was the University of Passau, what is in the very, very south of Germany, close to the Austrian border. And honestly, there's no other university in Germany that is far away from my home village. And they took me. And so I needed to stop everything I have planned. As I mentioned, I've been a member of a lot of clubs, have all my friends around, my family, and so on at home. And all my plans for the next step were diminished from one day to another. And it was now you go to Bavaria. And culturally, for the Germans, Bavaria is like another country.
But the funny thing was, as you arrived in Passau, you said, that was the beginning of something completely new. You realize that the world has a lot to offer, and that you might want to see even more, right?
Yeah. The first thing I recognized there and I experienced there was that a lot of people had similar journey as I had. So a lot of people that were studying this combined system, did their bachelor's like this, were denied in the universities in the north, in the west, and in the center of Germany, and in the east, obviously. And we all met there very quickly, because via internet those days already, you were meeting each other very, very fast and connecting very fast. And suddenly I recognized, okay, I was, as you mentioned, optimistic that will not be a problem. You had friends, you found yourself everything over there, you had a good life. And then I recognized as a next step that my English is not really sufficient for the things we were getting there. So we were reading in one course a thesis, I think it was from a Nobel Prize winner from 1928, really old American English, and formalizing very, very difficult for somebody who's not really speaking it. And I recognized that will not work here if you don't change anything. And I went to the Office for External Affairs, I would name it, at the university, and applied immediately for a semester in the US. And then the next semester I immediately say, goodbye, I'm leaving to learn English, and went to the USA, yes.
Yes, and that one opened up so many new doors.
Again,
I mean, that's life, but got into a very cool company.
Yeah. So after I came back, I was applying before I was leaving for an internship at Nivea at Bayersdorf in Hamburg. So a big global FMCG company.
Nivea,
And when I was there, my potential future boss told me, with your English in the assessment center will be difficult. But I was of course able to tell him a great story. I'll go to the USA before I'm back here, and when I come back, I'll be perfectly speaking English, at least in a way that I know which words to use to do this job here. And that convinced. So I was coming back, going to the internship. And with this move, I opened for me the door for FMCG companies with this experience again. And in the end, it led then to my first professional role after my master was finished at Anheuser-Busch InBev, so the biggest brewer in the world. So that's where the loop is closing again. My university, as mentioned, it's maybe not one of the top 5 universities in Germany. What would normally have excluded me for a job at Anheuser-Busch InBev for the global management trainee program. But with the brewing story, the USA story, and the Nivea story, suddenly I made it to be at least in the inner circle. And then they let me talk, and then...
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it was all those things plus your talking.
Yeah.
Convincing I'm the right person.
That was their mistake, they let me talk.
I think that really can be a door opener.
Indeed.
I am the one.
Yeah.
You've experienced some very cool things in the past years, privately and on a professional level. But you also told me that in the beginning of your career, your biggest challenge was that what I see now is you're a power guy. You've got so much energy, and I feel that you're very empathic. But you said those things, the empathy wasn't really there, and you had to hardly kind of find out that your way of being wasn't always so good. Right?
Yeah, I had to find out how to stream my energy into the direction that I take people with me, and not that I run into closed doors everywhere.
You were too much.
It was too much. It was over. It was over the line in many areas, because of course I was always showing I have this energy. I can do that. I can do this. I can do here. And it was a lot of times my talking was faster than my thinking. I still have this today, obviously. And but the door opener was really a lot of self-reflection with the line manager I had in those days, who was always showing me the mirror, saying, Adrian, with this situation, you just caused this and this reaction in other people's head that are maybe thinking different and that are different than you. And I really learned the hard way how to feel big time what my words creating in other people's heads that are all different and have different mindsets and so on.
You didn't realize you were hurting some people.
For example, and overwhelming them and leaving them on my journey and so on. And it's always easy said, I have so much energy, I sometimes miss people on my way. But that was indeed the case. And there were examples where you could very, very placatively say, look here, your behavior here left this person back because she doesn't trust you anymore, or he doesn't trust you anymore because you were too. And
But what I think is really fascinating is that you were willing to learn. Like, you very carefully listened to the criticism, and because you wanted to grow as a person, you really took that seriously. So today, it has given you the coolest job and so much responsibility. You're working for Mars, right?
Yes, I'm working for Mars, so the biggest pet care producer in the world, and I'm leading with my team the European Amazon business. So I have 6 direct reports, and
Wow, which is an amazing position.
Indeed, it's really cool, and I love it there, and it's also a big challenge every day, and I still learn. This is the biggest and coolest thing. So every day my learning curve is still like a rocket, I would say. And it's very difficult, of course, also to keep this pace and to motivate you every day. Well, come on, but it's just cool to see how it is if you have a cool team, and I really have great people working in my team that I was able also to give things, and they were able to give me things, and I was able to grow with them, and this is just a fantastic situation right now, and I'm very, very proud on my team and what we are doing right now.
And you're using the psychology that you've learned to see who is strong in that area, and you also have a very big passion, and that passion you have made it into first a hobby and then a profession, which is your podcast, an amazing podcast, very successful one. It's called Welttournee. And tell us about.
Yeah, it's a translation, by the way, of world tour, a little bit like the rock stars.
World
that was
tour.
the idea.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is behind it. So at some point, I really realized how much input I get from traveling, and it's easy said always, or you see new cultures and so on. But for me, it was really backing me up in some, I would say, fears of existency I also had. And so, okay, if you fail here, you're falling back, you lose your job, and then you will fall down into nothing and so on. And if you then see people living in countries that are, they need to say, very, very poor, and you see how lucky these people or happy these people are sometimes, how they manage to be happy in an environment where you say, whoa, even if the worst things happen to me with a social care system in Germany, I would never have such a hard life as they are having. I would always have a heated apartment and enough to eat. And if you combine this and see with how few things a human being can be extremely happy, for example, in Southeast Asia, you lose a lot of fear. Yeah, you have to say it's really bad that these people are so poor, but still you can learn from this because they are very happy, and I experience it sometimes happier than we are with all these things we're having, with money, with things to buy, with iPhones and so on and so on.
Unbelievable.
But that's not the source maybe of this, but they were showing us a lot, and we were working on coconut farms and so on, so we really dived deep into the cultures and learned and worked with people on the everyday job that was just so hard, and today I really feel blessed, even if my days are 13 hours sometimes.
Yes. You were working on a vineyard as well?
Yeah, in Croatia. So we didn't find an apartment there, and then on the street suddenly, or in a bar, in a very old traditional Croatian bar, there was an old grandpa who said, "Yeah, I have a guest room. If you want, you can stay there. You are paying €5 for food a day, and then you can sleep there 2 nights." And we helped him then on his little vineyard. It was really small. It was 100 times 100 meters, and helped him. And it was a lot of great white wine, by the way, at Opa Niko. So it was really just great. And he was talking us through all the history he has experienced, a very, very dynamic history on the Balkan. And it was just perfect to see all this and learning a lot and learning.
And that's so great because you do it all with just a backpack.
Yes.
Very quick, very easy, light traveling.
Yes. And for us, it's really, as we are having full-time jobs, we cannot do something like somebody in sabbatical and go for a 6-month time somewhere. And it needs to be really efficient. And if you just take hand luggage, you are already saving with your flights, for example, 1 hour on the flight forth and 1 hour on the flight back, because you don't have to give your stuff away. And you can just walk around, run around, and if it's necessary, you could take a bike or buy a bike and drive 25 kilometers.
Anybody can copy you.
Anybody, even you don't have to quit your job. Unfortunately, it's all on German, so you have to learn German first to listen to the podcast.
The podcast is in German, yes. And your friend that you do your podcast with, he lives in Barcelona, right?
Yes.
So you do the podcast like this.
Exactly.
And he has seen even more countries than
Yes, so I've seen a third of the world, and he has seen 50% of the world.
He has seen
already.
more than 100 countries.
He has been into over 100 countries already, so it's a little bit more than half of the world. So we are still looking after to see even more. And to be honest, we have seen now the easier ones. There are, of course, some countries in the world that are a little bit more difficult to travel to. Let's take the Iraq or Afghanistan. It's, of course, not the easiest one to go there. Yeah. And you need some special preparation maybe, or somebody to take you.
They are to come.
Yeah, but we've been to the Kosovo, we've been to Ukraine, also areas where it was a little bit more dangerous, but there you can really experience out-of-the-box things. Yeah.
And I mean, you're only 32 and you've seen more than 70 countries, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So cool.
Indeed.
Do you have a tip or some pieces of advice for young guys and girls where you say that is something you should do to get happy and really live a fulfilled life?
It's difficult, of course, with 32 to already say, I found the magic key, and it's much easier to look backwards and think about what has brought you to a situation where you're really, really happy with. I would recommend to everyone, when you think about your career or your job or what you want to become in your life and so on, to really think the things backwards and start to say, or from the front end, and start, how do I want to live? Where do I want to live? In a city, in a village, in a house, in an apartment? Do I want to be very flexible in my job? Do I want to have a good income? What is what you want to be in a time of 10, 12 years? And then you can look back and think, okay, If I want to, for example, be very flexible, then it's maybe smart to take a job that is leaving you this flexibility, go to a creative job, work in an agency where you have home office and so on. So that already narrows down the options you have for a job to a smaller group.
Yeah.
And if you then take as the third ingredient to really go deep into you, what is your talent?
Yeah.
And for me, obviously, to give a concrete example, backwards looking, I found out for me it's really talking. I can talk and I love to talk for hours and hours. So I have no pain in 13 hours of telephoning a day in job. And that's really something I'm good at. And if you find out that this is what you're good in, then you can create a career path on this. And then for me, it was not accidentally, something has maybe steered me, but it was not me with full consciousness. Okay, I want to do this because my verbal or my rhetorical skills. It was just happening. But in backwards looking, I was always working in jobs where I was talking. The podcast, I did a career mainly in sales. Everywhere it was mainly delivering through talking to people.
And then you also said you should love it, whatever you're doing, or you should find your passion, so that you would be able to do it in the middle of the night if I wake you up.
So this is then the perfect ingredients with your talent. So your talent is normally something that you're also passionate for, because it's easy for you to do this normally. And if you find this on top of this, and you mentioned it right, so passion is really the thing. Somebody can wake you up at 3 in the night and say, come on, we are going to do now this and this and this. And if you would tell me, night 3 o'clock, you now have to talk in front of 50 people about the strategy for the next 4 years, I would say, come on, and let me quickly do my hair and I'm on stage. That's absolutely something you don't need to motivate me for. It's just the thing I'm running. And if you find this thing and match it with what you're doing every day for a living, whatever this is, if it's high income, low income, whatever, then you have a spot where you don't have to motivate yourself in the morning to wake up. Then you go happy to work, and then you found the thing that will bring you to the point you just defined up front, how you want to live. And we mentioned it to close the loop from the beginning again. The journey already needs to be fun and needs to be full of happiness and full of freshness, and what motivates you and makes you
absolutely
a satisfied human being.
That is so true. Thank you so much. I wish you lots of luck, but I have no doubt in the world about that. You're in the very best way already.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and to you guys out there listening, think about it. Do you have a clear vision of how you want to live your life? Do you have that picture in front of you? This is how I want to feel. This is where I want to be, because it really makes it easier to get there if you have that picture.
And if you like this podcast, give Kati here thumbs up on YouTube, 5 stars on iTunes,
absolutely,
and click on following wherever you find the podcast.
Biggest help to spread inspiration is really to subscribe and give us a like. And if you have some inspiration out there, then please contact us on Facebook or Instagram. Maybe you should be on a podcast. And looking forward to seeing you next week. Take care.
Bye bye.